If you check carefully, you will find that Doctor Who is still classified by the BBC as a sci-fi adventure programme for kids. But after too many mind-numbing years as a PC punchball, a ridiculous rubbish dump for gormless grown-ups on a mission to brainwash formative young minds, it is surely time to cry, enough is enough. Why should children be force-fed the awful orthodoxy of pathetic pronoun prattling? You might ask that. A lot of parents might question that, but Guardian reading BBC staff decided decades ago that imposing their cafe latte left-wing culture of conformity on youngsters is the right thing to do. It's not, of course, but at the Bungling Beeb, being wrong is much more than just a hobby. It's a way of life. Over to Watch with Mother. Hello, children. Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin. Now brace yourself for an unconscionable crime committed by the Time Lord, who, at 900 years old, should perhaps have known better. In a return performance to mark this declining show's 60th anniversary, David Tennant's Doctor was suddenly scolded by new character Rose, who, inevitably, is transgender. After the Doc referred to some furry toy called Beep the Meep as him, right on Rose, a swirling mass of virtue-signalling indignation boomed, "You're assuming he as a pronoun?" Outrageous. Enter the unconvincing alien creature. My chosen pronoun, this is my alien voice, by the way. My chosen pronoun is the definite article. I am always the meep. Dazzling dialogue, isn't it? Eat your heart out, Mr. Shakespeare. I mean, talk about filling children's heads with inane nonsense. It's a stupid little hairy doll. Who cares what its preferred pronoun is? Obviously, there's no harm in viewers of all ages knowing about gay rights and the sensibilities of the LGBTQ community. But children aren't interested in space pronouns, and Captain Jack's sexuality means little to them. They just want to have a bit of fun. Let's face it, with their crass stories from the front line of the culture wars, the state broadcasters, politically motivated woke warriors have ruined Doctor Who, have destroyed Doctor Who. It's a kids' show. Why not make it for kids? Eh, Renee?
Look, Kev, there's not much for me to argue with there. You know that. I'm on board with this. Stop trying to indoctrinate our kids. I'm sure you did. But I actually don't think it is a kids' show. I haven't thought it was a kids' show forever. Surely this is a grown-up show now. No. Let them obsess about it. Let them argue about it. But leave the kids alone. Don't let them watch it.
But it is a kids' show.
I don't believe it's a kids' show.
Well, no, you can't just say that. It is classified as a kids' show. That's like saying I don't believe Chelsea play in blue. They do.
No, but what time does it air, though? This isn't like, it's like a 2 p.m.
2 in the morning.
2 in the... Shut up.
6 p.m. on a Saturday.
So that's not really kids.
Oh, come on!
It's not really a kids' show anymore.
Can we just discuss the important things about this, not the time that the BBC puts it out? The fact is, it is designated as a children's show.
No.
And,
for young adolescents.
No,
this is part of the problem.
Don't talk about the time it goes out.
This is important.
This is a kids' show, and this stuff, I don't think, should be on. I mean,
it shouldn't. Of course it shouldn't. They shouldn't be using kids to change language and indoctrinate them into this delusional cult.
Yes.
And it is a delusional cult.
Cult, you say.
But this is not a kids' show, so
Spell
I think it's okay. I think it's okay for them to talk about this on this show, because I don't see this as a kids' show. My 2-year-old is not watching this.
Yeah, but you can't.
This is for this is for 13, 14-year-olds.
Will you humour me,
So I think it's okay. No, I won't humour you.
I know you won't. I know you won't. Well, could you, though? Just accept it as a if it was a children's TV show.
If it was a kids' TV show, then I'd say they're going too far with the language. Okay. If it was a kids' TV show, but it's not a kids' TV show.
Yes, I think I've got
no,
and
it's not a kids' TV show.
Here's a message to parents. Don't let your kids watch this rubbish.
Yeah. See, I mean, I can't even get that worked up about it. I just don't understand. I mean, it does go out early evening. It always does. Yeah. Trust me, I know people at the Beeb. It is still classified as a children's show. If you want to fill it with all this stuff about the pronouns of a stupid little furry toy, I mean, I'm not that energised by that. I just think you're boring kids to tears and save it for a grown-up audience. Why would grown-ups, entitled grown-ups, want to impose their worldview on confused confuse little kids.
Well, Doctor Who's always been a bit political. They've done episodes that...
It hasn't always.
It has always.
I don't think it has always.
It has always, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah, well,
they did an episode about the partition in India one time. They've done things about the death
about
penalty.
2 years ago they did that.
They've done things about the death penalty. The Daleks and whether you can go back and destroy
What about
a
those
whole
guys?
race of
What about
people.
right at the beginning? Do you think Tom Baker?
I wasn't alive then, Kevin.
Do you think Tom
I wasn't
Baker?
alive.
We were, though.
I wasn't alive.
James.
Yeah, but
I'm barely 30.
well, okay. So all you're admitting is you don't know anything about it.
No, what I'm admitting is that they have been political.
It hasn't always been political.
Well, things move on, Kevin.
It wasn't political.
Things move on.
Well, that's as maybe. I'm saying it shouldn't move on.
But I don't think this is political. This is just indoctrination and trying
that's
to change
political,
our
isn't it?
language.
Yeah, I think that's...
We're trying to change our language.
That's political.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't just say okay and just take it. Fight back. What are you doing?
This isn't supposed to be a punch-up, this show. Let me explain to you the format of the show. I make points and you accept them. And you say things like, that was a brilliantly made point. Thank you very much.
Kevin, do you think we should actually be worried that the BBC assume that our kids are being educated to a level now where they know what the definite article is?
What is the definition?
I
know what the definition
Listen. I think you're completely right there. I think you're right.
It's a
And
good
look,
point.
if it is, that is a good point.
Actually, no, it's not a good point. Well, no, it is a kind of a good point, but what is that thing called beep the meep? What is he doing going, I'm beep and my preferred pronoun is always beep. I'm always beep. Well, who writes that in a space adventure for kids?
Doctor Who, for me, has not been good since Christopher Eccleston left. That was the last time I thought it was decent. Since then, it's gone downhill. Yeah. And the problem is with the BBC, unfortunately. Best thing they can do now is sell it off to someone else. Yeah. Let someone else produce it, because it's just... The legacy of Doctor Who is getting worse and worse and worse.
Or change the time.
I'll change the time. Yes.
By the way, talking about worse, it gets worse. Guess who voiced over Beep the Meep?
Oh,
Miriam
James
Margolyes.
Corden.
Miriam
my
Margolyes.
God.
Oh, God.
Surprised she didn't say she wanted Beep the Meep to die or
You
something.
know what else she voiced?
Yeah.
The Cadbury's Caramel Bunny.
Yeah. Oh, yes, she did.
She did, yeah.
She? The
I used to
one
love that bunny, that sexy
we all
bunny.
fancy.
Yeah, we fancied that bunny.
You're not
so I
allowed to say
found
that
out.
nowadays.
We did, didn't we?
Yeah.
We'll have to get the Cadbury's Bunny in next week.
Yes.
Talking about the Cadbury's Bunny, she is not going to be on this advert, but this is a very bad ad.
There's a magical place, we're on our way there, with toys in their millions all under one roof. It's called Toys R Us. Soon after bedtime, when dark nighttime falls, Jeffrey and helpers stock up all the shelves. From ceiling to floor, books, board games and bikes, tennis, puppets and dolls, beds, spaceships and trikes. There's millions, says Jeffrey, all under one roof. It's called Toys R Us, Toys R Us, Toys R Us.
Non-binary kids there, and this is a very modern advert, I believe. They're shoplifting. They're not paying for anything. Do you see any tills in that programme?
Let me tell you, kids never pay for anything.
Well, clearly, I can see that on that advert.
That is child labour. They wait till night time, and the weird-looking giraffe gets all the kids out and says, right, you're going to work for free. Put these toys up.
I like that.
It's a great advert. Yeah, that's not a bad advert.
So, yeah, time for mean tweets. Here's JJ. Take it away, JJ.
So, some bad ones for you this week, Kev. First off,
So what's new?
TV Kev, you look so angry when that Alex woman is talking. That's Alex.
Phillips,
Alex
you know.
Phillips, yeah.
I won't hear a word of that.
You just want to talk. She's very capable and is better at ad-libbing than you. It's not your show, you boring.
What's that from, Alex Phillips? Yeah, well, we'll see about that. You know what I mean?
Kevin, in brackets, I wave my hands about worldly to cover the fact I'm talking absolute nonsense, O'Sullivan. And Alex who? Don't they like criticism or hearing the truth? No, they're both.
I preferred that one. That's top of my chart so far.
And
straight in at number one is this one. Yeah.
Well, actually, this one's about me. Because I hang out with you, I now get abuse as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So under the clip of you,
Serves you right.
There's a clip of you on social media going, "What just happened?
What just happened?"
And someone still atted me abuse underneath your video. JJ is useless. Why is he on TV? He's very boring and far too full of himself. All he does is laugh and smile. Well, Bill Marston, I'm not laughing now, am I, mate? Eh?
JJ Anasiobi is useless. Just leave it at that. Just covers everything, really. Agreed.
All done.
Have you got any,
One
Renee?
about me, but apparently they were
One
quite
about you,
time.
yeah?
One about me.
Yeah.
It says, I wonder why Dr. Renee blocked me from speaking freely. Do you think you could ask her, Dr. Bull? Not very professional of her, is it, to use her power platform to only get her voice heard? She's not a very compassionate doctor, is she?
Why don't you send that person a tweet back saying, why don't you
I rest my case.
Yeah, that's what I always do. Anybody who sort of gets in touch with me, I just say, why don't you she'll go, I'm your mother. Right, time for a real ad now. What just happened?
He's mad as hell. It's Kevin O'Sullivan.
In a dreary West London office building near Paddington Station, vast amounts of taxpayers' money is in effect being flushed straight down the drain. Welcome to the catastrophically costly COVID inquiry, where day after extremely expensive day, waffling lawyers gather to ask prattling politicians, simpering civil servants and medical mediocrities if, amid the pressure of the pandemic, drumroll, they swore at each other. It's unclear why these 200 quid an hour barristers spend so much time trying to establish whether, at the height of the crisis, the clueless clowns waging war on the virus used bad language. It wasn't Sunday school, so did a spot of swearing at the heart of government matter? While the attorneys loiter in their legal ivory towers on some sort of mad mission to prove historical blasphemy, millions of us in the real world couldn't care less. What we could care about is finding out why the political and medical establishment continue to cling to the eminently questionable lockdowns as the only way to deal with COVID. Here come the VIP witnesses, one by one. Count them. Former Hopeless Health Secretary Matt Hancock, ex-NHS Chief Lord Simon Stevens, Maverick Downing Street bald guy Dominic Cummings, self-styled dynamic duo Patrick Vallance and Chris Whitty. Next slide, please. London Mayor Sadiq Khan, Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham, Dominic Raab, and the man without a plan, Boris Johnson. All invited by Imperious Inquiry Supremo, Baroness Heather Hallett. No, I've never heard of her either. To stick rigidly to the orthodox lockdowns-only narrative. No alternatives required. This ludicrously limited COVID probe's only remit is to investigate the speed with which we lock down and the extent to which we lock down. Sharp intake of breath at the very suggestion there might have been different solutions to closing down the country, cancelling everyone's lives and killing the economy. Don't mention Sweden or Belarus, which didn't lock down at all, but which both ended up with better death rates than Britain. So, hundreds of millions of pounds to fund an inquiry that will not answer the crucial question: were the lockdowns a monumental mistake? Meanwhile, why are we wasting huge quantities of cash for that swirling mass of elite entitlements, Sir Patrick Vallance, to contemptuously reveal that Boris Johnson gave up science when he was 15? Why did we allow this self-satisfied architect of Britain's shambolic response to act as if he was a towering genius, hampered by the shortcomings of the mere mortals around him? Why are we footing the obscenely massive bill for a stupefying circus that is set to last at least another 8 years? Just 6 months, that's all we are, into this shambolic show trial. The cost to the great British public has already soared over the £100 million mark. God knows what the final tab will be by 2030, when optimists predict the curtain could at last fall on this grotesque soap opera. But hey, every cloud, and it all adds up to lovely lucrative news for more than 100 lawyers, attendants, clerks, researchers, evidence collators, press officers, website managers, and even tapestry artists, all drawing their government-funded salaries for the foreseeable future. And yes, folks, you did hear that right. We are paying for a Bayeux tapestry-style version of events No one knows why. What is the point of an inquiry without a spirit of inquiry? An inquiry with its fingers in its ears, not listening to half the argument. An inquiry operating within its own absurdly restrictive boundaries that decided from square one that lockdowns are the one and only way to confront a pandemic. That is simply not true. What a joke. But this sick COVID comedy is no laughing matter. Yeah, you're a medical person, Renee. It's a disgrace. Look, I'm not saying, I don't know, I'm not saying lockdowns work or don't work, but when we have a vastly expensive inquiry, a national inquiry, which is, by the way, probably going to end up costing £500 million, about 500 million, the cost is going to be astronomical. Surely they should be looking at all arguments, not just one.
Of course they were. Of course they should. I mean, there's not much left for me to say after that, Kevin. You really went to town. It is an absolute joke. They are taking their time to just allow each one of them to try and blame the other, so everyone comes out of it saying it wasn't me, Garth. It was just chaotic. Yeah. The only thing that does worry me about it, Kev, is that they're going to show it to be so chaotic that they say, do you know what? We're not capable of running this kind of thing. We need to let the World Health Organization do it.
Oh, God.
That's the worry.
Yeah, what do you reckon, JJ? Because I just think that, the starting point, it's just the absurdity of it just boggles my mind. The starting point is, well, obviously lockdowns work. They're really, really effective. But, shouldn't we have locked down earlier and more extensively? No. Look at the countries that didn't.
Yeah, the question they should have been asking is, who decided to do the lockdowns? Did the lockdowns work? End of inquiry. Yeah. That's it. Move on. Absolutely. No one's going to go to prison for this. There's no consequence for anyone who's being interviewed. Yeah. It's completely pointless.
What
at this
about
point.
who made millions out of it or gone?
Yeah, but
should we not know that?
Absolutely. And those people should be in prison.
Should be in prison.
But Labour when Labour are in power, they're going to do a task force to look into that. So Keir Starmer's taking care of that one. Do your homework.
Oh yeah. Oh, that'll be all right. Yeah. As long as Keir's on the case, we've got nothing to worry about.
Keir's on the case.
Because there won't be any Labour peers who made money from COVID, JJ, will there?
But this is, so Baroness Hallich, these are her frames of reference. So the first thing she was hired back in 21 to chair this obscene, long-running inquiry, which, as I say, is going to go on till about 2030. The first thing she had to do after she was hired was to supply the frames of reference, and she's the one who came up with the remit of this inquiry. And the remit of this inquiry is purely to work out whether or not we should have locked down earlier or more extensively.
There's no question. There's no question of lockdowns as a solution. There's no question of that. And don't forget, she didn't even want to look into children. She didn't want to look into the harms of the children. She was convinced to.
By the way, JJ, so Carl Hennigan, who's the professor of evidence-based medicine at Oxford, really important character. Several other, shall we say, dissenting voices, those who questioned the lockdowns. By the way, we found out that Sir Chris Whitty was one of them.
Yeah.
So not everybody was gathering around the lockdown fire. Anyway, Carl Hennigan, several other of the dissenting voices have been there. Carl Hennigan told me personally last week they hardly listened to him. He said he had 70 pages of information he wanted to give that inquiry. They basically dusted him down and kicked him out of 20 minutes. They don't want to hear anyone who says lockdowns didn't work.
Well, do you know they spent most of his evidence reading nasty messages about him? Well, do you know that Kevin wrote that you were a bit of a lunatic? So it went on.
That's my whole point. That, look, if the COVID inquiry has had a purpose so far, it's to entertain the nation. It has been very funny learning all the nasty names they call each other. But these lawyers, these 220 quid... Did you realise that Matt Hancock called you a... all this sort of, did you? And then they go, I didn't know that. Oh, my... What do we achieve by this?
Nothing.
We achieve nothing. In what way is that any kind of consolation for the poor people who lost loved ones like you, JJ, in the bloody... What do you get out of learning that Matt Hancock and the gang called each other
Absolutely nothing. All I've learned from this is that the people in charge didn't want to listen and take advice. They followed their own path, their own rules. Jonathan Van Tam seems to have been one of the few sensible voices, and Chris Whitty. Poor Chris Whitty, at the time, behind closed doors saying, no, this is going to be terrible. For you lockdown, it's going to have a bad effect on people's mental health. And then in the street, the public who think he's supporting them are attacking him.
I personally don't think lockdowns worked. I think the evidence is there.
Yeah.
You have one lockdown, come out of it, and then a month later you have to go back into lockdown, proves the first one didn't work, and so on and so forth. That's my view. I'm no expert. As I say, I'm not saying that I demand this inquiry finds that lockdowns were wrong. For all I care, they can find they're absolutely right.
They will.
But there should be a... well, that's the bloody point. They already have decided that. That's what's so annoying.
But they'll find out that they should have been sooner, harder.
And by the way, do you know what our most expensive inquiry has been so far? It's the bloody Sunday inquiry. That cost. That went on for I think it was 6-7 years. That cost £200 million. We are only. This started in July. This thing.
Yeah.
So it's less than 6 months old. We've already motored through £100 million. So
it's going to cost.
So
more than
by
HS2.
2030. I mean, you'd be talking about $1 billion probably. I mean, what we need, JJ, I think now, is an inquiry into inquiries.
Well, we will get an inquiry into the inquiry.
What don't you?
And a Netflix drama.
I think we need an inquiry into inquiries.
Generally.
Just the whole thing. Because it's a technique by politicians, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm really in the shit here. Everyone's having a bad go at me. I call for an inquiry. I can't comment until the inquiry is over.
How many Hillsborough inquiries did we have to have before we got to the truth?
Yeah, well, did we have one long one that kept reconvening or something? But yeah, I mean, they're not necessarily a passport to the truth.
No.
They're just a passport to lots and lots of lawyers. More than 100 lawyers are working on the COVID
I chose the wrong profession.
100 lawyers, and many of them are on 220, 250 quid an hour. It's grotesque. There's something wrong here.
It is grotesque.
But it's all right. Look, HS2's been stopped in the north. They can use that money to pay for the inquiry.
Yeah.
Aren't they using that for potholes?
They're using that for potholes. Yeah. More immigrants or something. Brexit.
Well, I'm calling for an inquiry into bad television ads. Here's one.
Alan, Shotty, Osmelda and me are out on safari, as you can see. We eat whatever's on the spot, but we'd rather have a bowl of Cocoa Pops, oh yeah. Kellogg's Cocoa Pops taste so chocolatey, they even turn the milk brown, so we'd rather have a bowl of...
Yeah, so if I was a kid, I'm watching all these adverts. So we just watched that ad in Toys R Us. Now we've got Cocoa Pops. I would say, why do you keep showing me giraffes? They're all over the place, aren't they?
Kids like giraffes?
Well, evidently. You know, it must say that according to people selling products, they're obsessed with
But
giraffes.
I've got to say, both those adverts are really good adverts. Who's picking these as bad ads? These are not bad adverts.
Good ads.
These are good ads.
Yeah, good ads.
We like these ads.
Yeah, that's an impressive ad.
It is impressive. Yeah.
Thank you to both of you. Meanwhile, me and Jage and one other poor victim will be back this time next week, same time, same place. What just happened? Right here on TalkTV. What just happened?